I was wrong. I now believe that supporting Ukraine is America first. And once you see the atrocities at the hands of the Russians, that is just pure evil. Politics goes out the window.
So last month, you agreed with President Trump when he paused military aid for Ukraine. But this week, you're now actually calling on him to send more tanks, fighter jets, and weapons to Ukraine. What's changed in that time?
Well, I mean, obviously, being on the ground in Ukraine has changed my opinion significantly. I am on record for being one of the staunch opponents of continuing supporting Ukraine in my previous posts and comments and interviews. But it took me being in Kyiv, being at Bucha, seeing the atrocities that has taken place, not military strategic points, but innocent lives being killed, executed, and knowing the 700 religious institutions to be intentionally targeted by the Russians, seeing and discovering 20,000 children have been kidnapped and deported to Russia, not including the 1.3 million children that are unaccounted for. When you're hearing of these atrocities, looking at the white bandanas that was placed on the arms of civilians to identify themselves as civilians, so that the Russian soldiers don't do them any harm, but to see these Russian soldiers take these very same bandanas and use them to tie the hands of older women and adults, innocent civilians, and shooting them, senselessly killing them, it changed my perspective significantly. I now believe that supporting Ukraine is America first. I am still a staunch supporter of what I believe the greatest president in my lifetime, President Donald Trump. And we witnessed the greatest political comeback in U.S. history, and I had a front row seat for 10 years watching him develop into the great leader that he has become. And so my support for Ukraine is not a stab at him, but to call on every Republican, every conservative, every American, and those around the world who, like me, have been brainwashed by fake news media about Ukraine. For instance, fake news suggested that Ukraine hated churches. Ukraine hated ministries, that they intentionally destroyed ministries. But that is a bold-faced lie, because I was in the midst of some of Ukrainians' greatest spiritual leaders from all different sects, religious organizations, that was in one room in Kyiv. And they all have one same common ground, is that they have a right to practice their faith in Ukraine, and that it is a bold-faced lie. So when you're hearing these fake news stories that are coming from mainstream outlets, it is easy to develop an opinion about Ukraine when we know the billions of dollars that has been sent to Ukraine. And you're thinking, what has happened to the money? When you see that the money is not going to the innocent, free people of Ukraine. I can't still attest to what has happened to the money, but the point that I'm making is, your question is, what changed me? It was when I was on the ground, and you're talking to these people, and once you see the atrocities at the hands of the Russians, politics goes out the window. Immediately, you stop focusing on whether you are pro-Zelensky and did President Zelensky disrespect the Oval Office. You stop focusing on whether or not President Trump, the fake news media that suggests that President Trump has sold Ukraine to Russia. And when you throw out the Democrat politics, you throw out the Republican politics, the left or the right, whether you're Kamala Harris supporters or not, and you throw all that out the window, and you just see the children that have been killed. Just a couple of days ago, where 9 children have been killed. More innocent lives at the hands of the Russians just days ago. And so when you see this, you immediately put all politics out the window. And for me, my heart as a man of God begins to pour out. And I've been echoing that message ever since, that I was wrong. And the power of the cross teaches me to admit when you're wrong, to have the right humbled heart and to say, I was wrong. Nobody paid me to go to Ukraine. I paid my own tickets to get to Ukraine. Nobody brought me there with the hope that I would communicate their message. No, not at all. This is simple human beings that are being destroyed at the hands of the Russians. And that's why my heart has become now a staunch supporter of supporting Ukraine and echoing this message at the highest levels of government in the United States and around the world. That we need to get behind Ukraine. Russia is the aggressor. And I'm very proud that President Trump made it very clear. He is pissed off. That's the words he used. Pissed off at Vladimir Putin. He's pissed at Vladimir Putin. And that he needs to come to the negotiating tables immediately, or he will issue secondary tariffs on Russian oil and go after the countries that are supporting or buying Russian oil. And so that just shows you how determined the president is in getting this war ended. Biden spoke a big game, but President Trump is the only one that's actually acted upon it and will do whatever it takes. If Russia doesn't come to the table for a peace negotiation, President Trump is not the man to be messed with. Russia fears President Donald Trump, and they should, because I know him very deeply, very personally, and he's a man of true conviction. And he is witnessing and hearing about the deaths of innocent people, the rapes that are taking place at the hands of Russian soldiers, 300 documented rapes at the hands of the Russian aggressor. And so I'm not here to promote the politics. I'm here to promote the innocent people that are begging for this war to come to an end and asking for those that are in power to bring an end to this war sooner than later. Even the Ukrainian generals that I've met and your politicians that I've met while I was there, and I'm coming back, that they all would rather have peace than ammo. They want peace than ammo, but a strong strategic military or a plan that will secure the sovereignty of the great nation of Ukraine.
You mentioned there that you were at Kryvyi Rih, the site of a missile attack last week, which killed, I think, 20 people, including 9 children. That attack has come after Donald Trump has begun peace talks and negotiations. Do you think that Trump is doing enough if Russia is still carrying out attacks like that?
Well, I think that Vladimir Putin is at the end of his rope. I think that he has tested the patience of President Donald Trump, and he has come to the end of it. I'm leaving the negotiations to the professionals, the ones that President Trump has appointed. I'm very proud to know that after my attendance in Ukraine, after my visit in Ukraine, for the first time since 2022, a Russian envoy is now coming to Washington, D.C. I believe that what we have done and the attention that we're drawing to Ukraine is playing a part in that we're seeing more and more countries around the world are now coming out for the support of Ukraine. We're even seeing more Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, Make America Great Again, individuals such as myself, since my visit, is now coming out and speaking their support for Ukraine, putting pressure onto Congress to act and to support the initiatives that President Trump is putting forth. And so for that, I'm very optimistic that this war will be coming to an end sooner than later.
I mean, ultimately, all of the acts of violence against civilians and churches and everything else in Ukraine for the last more than 3 years now have been ordered by one man, Vladimir Putin. How do you describe a person who is capable of doing that?
Evil, pure evil. A person that can kill children. In Bucha, the ages from 1 year old to 100 years old was killed. There was no military strategic locations that was there that killed these people. As a former United States, South Carolina Army National Guards member, and I served in the infantry, 11 Bravo infantry, mechanized. And I trained at Fort Benning, Georgia, the home of the infantry. And having been a trained infantryman, I understand attacking military strategic positions that house military outposts. But to attack civilians, the elderly, women, children, hospitals, schools, this is beyond military advancement. That is just pure evil. And that is what Vladimir Putin has done, and that's what he's continuing to do. And again, my focus is to use the media outlets from around the world to scream this message. This is beyond Republicans or Democrats. My support for the greatest president in our lifetime has not wavered at all. And I'm 100% behind his initiatives. But to scream this from the mountaintop louder than ever, that Ukraine is a sovereign nation, and they have been ruthlessly, relentlessly attacked by an aggressor called Russia, led by a man, dictator Vladimir Putin. It is evil, and it should never be allowed.
You also spoke earlier about Russia's campaign against religious institutions and groups in Ukraine, including evangelical Christians over here. And that's been extensively documented. Yet I still frequently see on social media, especially people with accounts on X and other platforms who profess to be evangelical Christians, and yet they're supporting Putin. Like, how do you explain that? What do you think is going on there?
One of the comments, you know, my famous post that I posted in the middle of the night at the hotel in Kyiv, and I laid in my bed, and the Holy Spirit began to download to me things to say in my post, because I knew what I was about to post was about to go public. There was a video that one of my staff members put up, and it showed the third year anniversary of the Day of Liberation in Bucha. And in that you was, you know, seeing the films of the dead bodies that were laying in the street in this Orthodox church that they've used as a makeshift museum to celebrate the third day of liberation in Bucha. And somebody whom I know is a very strong supporter of the MAGA movement in America and a very strong supporter of President Trump made this comment. And they said, "This is very sad, Pastor, that this is happening in Ukraine. But no more money to Ukraine. I'm sorry, no more money to Ukraine." And I responded to this individual and I said, "You would not be saying that if you was here on the ground." That shifted my whole perspective of what's happening in Ukraine. And the Holy Spirit then immediately began to download things for me to say. And news magazines and articles have taken that post and it's went all over the world because I knew it came from God. And he said to me, "Democrats and Republicans, it's irrelevant at this point. When you're seeing the death of people that are dying, when you're seeing that Russia is intentionally targeting places of faith and executing pastors and their sons, when you're seeing these things on the ground, Ukraine is bigger than just a flag of yellow and blue that you see on the news. Ukraine is bigger than just a map on the globe that is used as a prop on a news on CNN or MSNBC. No, Ukraine is living people. When you're on the ground in Ukraine and you're seeing the devastation and you're seeing the tears and you're seeing the individual soldiers who are on the ground, they don't want no money from America. They want ammunition. They don't want no money. They need the tools to protect their homeland. They was invaded. It's no different from the British invading America. And the difference of the Tories and the Loyalists and those citizens that took up arms. They were not trained soldiers. They were just regular regular farmers and blacksmiths, and they took up arms to defend their territory. That's exactly what Ukraine is doing. And when you see this, you can hear the passion in my heart. This may politically kill me, which I care less. I don't care. What's right was matter to me. It's not about what's popular, what is right. Dr. Martin Luther King said this: an injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere. And when you understand that, it's easy to lock arms with the Ukrainian community around the world and to say they are killing churches intentionally, because many of these institutions, religious institutions, are the only places that gives hope to some of these Ukrainian citizens that are out there in remote areas. And they're destroying them because they want to destroy the spirit of Ukraine. But I've been on the ground in Ukraine. I've spoken to all your leadership in Ukraine. I've spoken to the everyday man and woman of the citizen of Ukraine. And I can tell you the spirit of Ukraine is not broken. It is very much alive and is very much ready to defend its homeland. But more importantly than ammo, they want peace. And that's why I'm doing this interview. That's why I'm taking time to talk to anybody and everybody that want to talk to me, so that this message, that what God showed me on the ground of Ukraine, that has moved my heart, that I may move somebody else's heart, and that the world will get behind Ukraine. And so my objective is that myself, along with the millions of people who are around the world, who've been doing this for 10 years, who've been screaming about the atrocities for 10 years, and especially the last 3 years, that Ukraine is a sovereign nation, and they have been ruthlessly attacked by the Russian aggressor, and they have killed millions of innocent civilians. And it is my job to tell the world to get behind Ukraine. Please forgive me for my many sermons, but as you can see, it's not an act for me. I'm very passionate about this. My tears goes out for those that are lost and are dying and are still being killed. And trust me when I tell you, my voice is screaming from the mountaintop to whoever will listen. We need to end this conflict in Ukraine immediately.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what Pastor Burns said and want to support Ukraine, you can do that by becoming a member of the Kyiv Independent. Just go to kyivindependent.com/membership and you can sign up there.